Hello, I am George Politaris with Genuine Financial Advisors. And today, a couple of misconceptions and information we need to know about TSP to have a better and brighter retirement future. One of the things that people think about is TSP, and you start monthly income as retirees, and you keep the money in TSP. And we use a common practice. Most people go with a 60-40 mix in retirement, 60% G fund, 40% C fund. Well, one of the things you don't realize is, let's say that you are taking out $1,000 a month in income into your bank account from TSP. Well, they don't just give you cash out of TSP. They have to sell shares to produce that money to give you cash. So let's say you get your $1,000 a month. They take 50% out of G funds, 50 shares out of G fund, and 20 shares out of C fund. And everything's fine. They sell the shares, they have the cash, they give you your $1,000. But what happens to that mix when the stock market goes down 34%, as did on March 9th of 2020? Well, to get that same $1,000, they need to sell more shares, right? So now they're selling 60 shares of G fund and maybe 40 shares of C fund to produce the same amount of monthly income. What does that do to your TSP? It goes away faster, doesn't it? Because they're selling more shares to produce the same amount of money. So it's something to keep in mind about how to preserve our income and to make sure we have money to last for the rest of our lives into retirement. Because there's good news for you and there's bad news for you. The good news is you're living longer. Congratulations. The bad news is you're living longer. Congratulations. So we need to have something in place to make sure that we don't run out of money for yourself and for your spouse and family, if that's where our goals are. The second thing a lot of people don't realize is, do you remember back in September of last year and before that, when the government had a shutdown? We couldn't get a bill passed to fund the government. We all remember that. When everything for the government was closed, right? Parks, national history museums, the whole 9 yards. We weren't funding, weren't paying IRS agents, all that. We remember that nightmare. But just because the government doesn't have money coming in, they still have to operate. And they still need to have cash come in. So where did they get the cash to fund the government until we can get a new bill passed to fund the government? Well, they had a funny thing. They borrowed that money from the G fund, which is the government fund, of the TSP. Now, granted, when the bill was passed and the government was funded a month later, line one of that bill was to repay G fund. But think about this. Isn't that what happened back in the 70s? When the government had money in Social Security, so those bulk of money, and we needed funds, extra funds, they borrowed against Social Security, right? With the perception that, take it today, we'll pay it back tomorrow, we'll pay it back in the future. And we all know the state of Social Security today. The G fund's your money, but it's really not. It's the government's money. There's $558 billion in TSP. In the G fund is made up of 44%. Over $243 billion of that is in G fund. That's a lot of money for them to have their hands on. Because the thing you have to remember about this, that money is your money, it's your choices and your decisions. You need to make sure that you have control and can dictate what you're going to do with it for your future. Our information is listed here. Give us the opportunity to talk to you about some other things and make sure you're planning properly for your future. Have a great day. And once again, this is George Politaris with Genuine Financial Advisors.